When most people hear the words manufactured home and modular home, they assume these two things are basically the same. They look similar, they sit on the same street, and they might even be built in the same factory. But here's the thing that will completely change how you think about buying, financing, or building one of these homes. The rules that govern them are completely different, and those differences could cost you thousands of dollars or completely block you from getting a loan if you don't understand them. So before you sign anything, let me break this down in a way that, actually will make sense, because the legal and construction standards behind these two home types are generally fascinating once you understand what is at stake. So let us start with manufactured homes. A manufactured home is a home built entirely in a factory and then transported to a site. What makes it specifically a manufactured home is that it is constructed under federal law. We are talking about the HUD code, which stands for the Department of Housing and Urban Development. The federal standard is established through the National Manufactured Housing Construction and Safety Standards Act of 1974 and took full effect in 1976. When you walk into a manufactured home and look for a small red or silver plate attached to the home, that is the HUD certification label. That label tells you the home was built to federal standards covering everything from wind resistance and thermal protection to plumbing, electrical systems, and fire safety. Now here's where California gets very specific and where Title 25 enters the conversation. Title 25 is part of the California Code of Regulations that governs manufactured homes and mobile homes within the state. The California Department of Housing and Community Development, or HCD, enforces Title 25. This means that even through the HUD code, even though the HUD code is a federal standard, California adds its own layer of oversight through Title 25 for things like installation requirements, foundation standards, permits for setup, and ongoing inspections for these homes. If you are installing a manufactured home in California, you need to comply with both the federal HUD requirements and the state level Title 25 regulations. These two systems work together, but they operate in parallel, and missing requirements from either one can create a serious legal and financial headache. So, what does the HUD code actually require? It covers structural design, fire safety, energy efficiency, plumbing and heating and cooling systems, electrical standards, and transportation standards, since these homes move on a chassis. The home is classified by the zone it is designed for, whether that is a wind zone, a thermal zone, a roof load zone. These zones matter because a home built for a mild coastal climate has different construction specifications than one designed for a high wind or heavy snow region. Every manufactured home must be permanently labeled and carry documentation proving it meets these zone-specific requirements. Now let's talk about modular homes. This is where the contrast becomes really clear. A modular home is a factory-built section, is built in factory sections, but there is a critical difference. A modular home is not governed by a federal HUD code. Instead, it is governed by the same state and local building codes that apply to traditional site-built homes. In California, that brings us to Title 24. Title 24 of the California Code of Regulations is the California Building Standards Code. This is a comprehensive set of rules that governs the construction of virtually all buildings in the state, including energy efficiency standards, structural requirements, accessibility, fire protection, and more. When a modular home is built in a factory, it must be designed and constructed to meet the Title 24 standards, just as if someone were building a traditional home on a lot. The California HCD actually reviews and approves modular home manufacturers under a state approval program. Approved modular sections carry a state insignia rather than a HUD label. This distinction has massive real-world implications. Because a modular home is treated like a site-built home under Title 24, it is typically classified as real property once it is permanently installed on a foundation. That means it can be financed with a conventional mortgage in the same way a traditional home would be. Now, lenders are generally more comfortable with modular homes because they fall under the same legal framework as stick-built homes. Manufactured homes, on the other hand, have historically been treated as personal property property similar to a vehicle, especially when they sit on rented land or are not permanently affixed to a foundation. However, when a manufactured home is permanently attached to land that the homeowner owns and has the HUD labels intact and the title is converted from personal property to real property, it can also qualify for conventional financing. This is where Title 25 comes back in, because California requires specific installation and titling procedures to make that conversion happen properly. The inspection process also differs significantly. Modular homes are inspected at the factory by state-approved third-party inspectors verifying Title 24 compliance, and the local building departments handle on the site work. Manufactured homes have their own inspection regimen under HUD at the factory, and then state and local oversight under Title 25 handles the installation side. All right, if you're a buyer, an investor, or even a contractor, understanding these two separate pathways is not optional. It is essential. Getting a manufactured home confused with a modular home on a permit application, a loan document, or a zoning request can send everything off the rails. Lenders, appraisers, insurance companies, and local planning departments all treat these homes differently because the law treats them differently. Here's your takeaway. Manufacturers' homes live under federal HUD standards plus California Title 25. Modular homes live under California Title 24, just like a traditional home. One carries a HUD label, the other carries a state insignia. One has historically been personal property, the other real property from the start. And both require you to know exactly which set of rules applies before you make any financial or legal decisions. If this helped you understand the difference, share it with anyone who's thinking about buying or building one of these homes. This is the kind of information that most real estate professionals never clearly explain, and knowing it up front can save you serious time, money, and frustration.